Finding your core, where it is, and how to engage it. You're going to need two props. You'll need a man's tie or a long skinny scarf, and a chair with a flat surface. The seat of the chair should be as high as your knees or a little bit higher. You just don't want the seat lower than the knees. You're going to be moving into 5 positions. You're going to be on your hands and knees in table position. You're going to be lying down on your belly. You'll be on your back with your knees bent, standing, and sitting on a chair. So right now, get on your hands and knees. This is table position. Now you'll be moving into cat position. The way to do that is turn the tailbone under, the mid-back toward the ceiling, and your chin tucks in. It looks like a Halloween cat with the back arching up toward the ceiling. The hips are the important part here, learning how to engage the core. The hips are tipped into a pelvic tilt. In yoga, we call it a cat tilt, because the hips are tipped with the tailbone turning under. Now, try cow tilt, which is the opposite of cat tilt. It looks like a sway-back horse. Turn the tailbone up, belly toward the floor, and look forward. Now your back is arching like a sway-back horse. We call it cow tilt in yoga. Now you're going to move back and forth. Turn the tailbone under, mid-back towards ceiling, and turn the tailbone up towards the ceiling, belly towards the floor. Notice how this feels, the two compared to each other. If you can't figure out if your tailbone is turned up or down, don't worry about it. Just move back and forth to get used to the movement. You'll get more used to this as we proceed. Now you're going to get into the second position. Get onto your belly. Once you get there, push your pubic bone into the floor. This is known as a pelvic tilt in many exercise classes. In yoga, we call it the cat tilt. When you do this, you most likely are engaging the muscles of your rear end. If the rear end muscles are engaged, it means you're doing the cat tilt. And you're also engaging your core, but that's a more subtle sensation. So if you feel the muscles in the rear end engaged, then you're engaging your core. And this is challenging for people to feel this when you're not sure of where your core is yet. But by the end of this, I'm hoping you will feel it. To get used to this sensation, turn the tailbone under, pushing the pubic bone into the floor. Hold this. Notice how it feels as you hold your belly. Feel that in the place 2 inches below your belly button and 1 inch higher than your pubic bone. See if you can feel that. Release the cat tilt and then do it again. Do this a few times to get used to the sensations. Back and forth. It is very likely you still won't feel the core engage. It usually needs to get much stronger before you can sense this. Now the third position. Now roll over onto your back. Have your knees bent and the soles of your feet on the floor. Your feet hip width apart. Place the tie under your waist so that you can hold on to it with each hand. You don't want it to be under your hips. You want it to be placed where the curve in your back is at the highest. That's your waist. Now do a cat and cow tilt several times, going back and forth from one to the other. Your low back pushing into the floor, your low back away from the floor, just back and forth. Now push your low back into the floor. The more it pushes into the floor, the more your core is engaging. There's another position that your hips can be in. It's called the neutral spine. It is neither cat tilt, pelvic tilt, nor cow tilt. You're not turning your tailbone up or down. Now we're going to do a test. To get used to what we'll do in the test, hold the tie in each hand and then slide the tie through your hands. Bring your hands about 8 inches away from your sides. Have your back in a neutral position, neither cat nor cow. Now do the motion with the tie as if you're shining your back with the tie, pulling it back and forth. This is the motion you'll use for the test, but you'll do it slower, more gradual. Now, hold the cat tilt. This means your low back will be pushing into the floor. The tailbone is turning up and the rear end muscles will be contracting. Pull gently on the tie. It shouldn't be able to move if you're engaging your core strong enough. Your low back will be pressing into the floor and it's strong enough so that the tie can't move. This is the first step to getting a stronger core. If the tie moves, if it's able to move, keep practicing. You practice by pushing the low back into the floor. That also means you're turning the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Remember, that's a little sometimes confusing. You're pushing your low back into the floor. So sometimes this is confusing for people. They're actually doing the cow tilt. If you're not sure, go back and forth. Find out which one is more likely to make it so the tie won't move. When you do the cow tilt, there will be a bigger space between your low back and the floor. The tailbone will be turning into the floor, and the tie will be able to move a lot easier. Now, you're going to be getting up to standing. Stand with your feet hip-width apart and your feet parallel to one another. Place your thumb tips together and put them directly on your belly button. Put your palms directly on your belly. Put your middle fingertips together, touching. You'll create a triangle shape with the index fingers and thumbs. Now your middle fingers are directly over your core. Soon you'll be able to feel your core engage and release. Try doing a pelvic tilt, the cat tilt. You'll know you're doing it if the rear end muscles are engaged. And if you're not sure, go back and forth, turning the tailbone out to under. Hold a little bit in one direction and then hold in the other direction. When the tailbone is turned under, the rear end muscles are contracting, engaging. When you turn the tailbone out, the rear end muscles are not engaged. They're not holding. It is important that you're able to hold the pelvic tilt, otherwise known as the cat tilt, before we go to the next step. You need to be able to hold the pelvic tilt, the cat tilt, to protect your back when we lean back. Now, we engage the pelvic tilt. Lengthen up out of your waist, so grow longer, shoulders down, elbows in. Bring the front of your thighs forward as you lean back with your upper body. Come back, up. Keep holding the pelvic tilt. Now remember, if this bothers your back, it could be because you're not doing the pelvic tilt. If your back still gets bothered, it is very important that you not do this and you go back to doing the pelvic tilt on the floor and not do this step until you get stronger. Strength does build quickly when you do it regularly. If you could do it 2 or more times a day, that would be great. It just takes a few seconds at a time. Your hands should be able to feel the muscles contract when you lean back, and they release when you come up. Move back and forth a few times, and then hold. Push your middle fingertips into your belly when you lean back. When you come up, push your middle fingers tips into your belly. You should feel the difference right there underneath your fingertips. You should feel the core engage when you lean back. This is an easy way to strengthen your core. It really only takes a few seconds, and you can do it whenever you're standing. You don't have to bring your hands to your belly, but you do have to do the pelvic tilt. And you don't even really need to lean back too far in order to engage the core, in order to strengthen it. Of course, the farther back you go, the more challenging it is. Whenever I'm waiting in a line, that's when I do it, strengthening my core and waiting in a line. Now we're going to go into the 5th position, sitting in a chair. Use a chair that isn't too cushiony. You cannot or should not do this on a couch. When you're sitting, your hips should be as high as your knees. Come out to the front edge of the chair. Bring your arms up, your hands out in front of your shoulders, parallel with the floor. Your hands should be shoulder width apart. Now, do a cat tilt, rounding your spine. Now lean back. If this hurts your back even a little, you should not do this. If it's okay, keep the rounding and come up and then go back. Do this a few times and then hold as far back as challenging and safe. Safe means it does not hurt your back even a little bit. When you get stronger, you can make this more challenging by sitting tall at the front edge of the chair. Keep your back straight. Keeping the back straight is what makes it more challenging. Lean back a little bit, then hold. The farther back you go, the more challenging it makes it. You can make it even more challenging by going back as far as you can, and then come up just a little bit, and then back again. If this hurts your back even a little bit, you need to stop and do the easier version. I hope you can now figure out where your core is. Doing these exercises for just a few days should enable you to be able to engage your core and to know where it is.